In the deep countryside, where golden fields once stretched for miles, farmers started noticing something strange. Every morning, crops were torn apart, fences were broken, and the ground looked as if it had been dug by machines. At first, they thought it was just a few wild pigs, but within weeks, they realized the truth. It was a wild boar invasion. These animals came at night in big groups, tearing through everything in their path. Corn, potatoes, and even small fruit trees, all gone by morning. Farmers tried shouting, throwing lights, even setting up old scarecrows, but nothing worked. The boars were smart, fast, and fearless. They could smell food from far away, and no fence could stop them. The damage was beyond control. Some families lost nearly half their yearly harvest. Tractors got stuck in the torn-up mud, and animals on farms began starving. For many, this wasn't just a crop problem, it was a fight for survival. The local government tried sending teams to trap them. A few cages worked for a while, but soon the boars learned how to avoid them. Some farmers tried poison, but it was too dangerous for their dogs and livestock. Nothing seemed to stop the growing army of wild boars. Then came a new idea. A group of local hunters decided they couldn't just sit and watch anymore. These were old, experienced men, the kind who grew up hunting deer and ducks, who knew every sound of the forest. They gathered one evening at the town's small cafe and made a plan. They would organize night hunts. The team prepared their rifles carefully, 308 Winchester for distance, 30-06 for power, and 12-gauge shotguns for close range. They cleaned every barrel, checked every scope, and made sure their flashlights and night vision gear were ready. Dogs were trained, ammo was packed, and routes were marked on old paper maps. This was not just a hunt, it was a mission. On the first night, the hunters split into two groups. They moved quietly through the tall grass, guided only by moonlight and the faint rustling in the distance. Then they heard it, the grunts and snorts of a big herd. Through the scope, the lead hunter spotted nearly 20 wild boars near the cornfield. He raised his rifle slowly, exhaled, and took the shot. The loud crack of the gun echoed across the valley. The herd went wild. Some scattered, others charged toward the sound. The hunters stood their ground, firing in rhythm, aiming carefully to avoid the dogs and each other. It wasn't about killing for sport. It was about protecting their land, their families, and their future. By sunrise, the field was silent again. The men were tired but proud. They had driven the first herd away and saved what was left of the crops. Over the next few weeks, more organized hunts followed. Farmers joined in, learning how to use rifles safely. They set up lookout points and used motion lights to spot movement at night. Some even built feeding traps with corn and apples to lure boars into open ground. Slowly, the population began to drop. The hunters didn't wipe them out completely. That's nearly impossible, but they controlled the numbers enough for the land to recover. Grass started growing again. Crops returned. Chickens and goats could finally graze without fear. Soon, word spread across nearby towns. People came to learn from these farmers how they use teamwork, patience, and skill to win against one of nature's toughest enemies. Some called it the Boer War, a nickname that stuck for years. For the men who fought it, though, it was more than that. It was a reminder that in the wild, balance matters. When nature pushes too far, humans must stand their ground, not with cruelty, but with respect, precision, and courage. And as the sun set over the quiet fields once again, the old hunters would sit on their trucks, rifles resting on their laps, watching the land they saved, proud, calm, and ready if the wild ever came back.